In addition to that fancy 400-gallon bow-front aquarium, we also inherited about an 80-gallon tank upstairs in the homeowner's bathroom. Over the last couple of years, that tank has proved itself to be a challenge. It was set up using 1980s type technology, meaning it had an under gravel filter and was driven by a canister filter. The problem or the challenge was oxygen, or in this case, a lack of. I've been able to persuade the homeowner to replace the tank. The new version has a wet-dry trickle filter built into the back end of the tank. That should adequately raise the oxygen levels and make for a much more effective filter system. So come along with me as we set up another tank. So here's our new tank with a new canopy, and the tank has the filter built into the back end of it. So the first thing we want to do is get it unwrapped and get it in position.
This type of an aquarium is called the UniQuarium. It's an acrylic tank that has its filter built into its back side. This filter design is based on wet-dry trickle filter technology. The UniQuarium is available in many standard sizes and shapes. This installation consists of custom dimensions to fit this application.
So our first challenge is to get the power set up for this unit. There is a small hole drilled through the top of the marble cabinet back here. But unfortunately, the heads of the plugs won't really pass through there, at least once I get the tank pushed back in position. There's not enough, so I've had to place this multi-adapter here on the end of an extension cord, and I'll have to have this on the back side of the tank, and that's where the water pump and the heater will plug into. The lighting, I think, has a small enough AC power cord that it'll slip through that hole and not be an issue if I have to replace it down the road, because once the tank is filled up with water, it's going to be relatively hard to try to push it out of the way to get a power cord out of that hole. So with that in position, then the next thing I want to do is, this is the filter system back here. So the water will pass through the slits exiting the tank into the overflow compartment. You can see there's a sponge down there. I'm going to actually remove that sponge because that's just too hard to get to for cleaning purposes. And what I'll do is place a filter pad over the top of the drip plate here, and that'll act as the pre-filter. So again, the water will come into this chamber. This will be where the heater is at. It rises up through this chamber, spills out across the drip plate, which in turn will rain down across the bio bowls. That water in turn is collected down at the bottom of that overflow, and you can see there's a water pump down in there, a Rio pump, and that's what in turn will send the water back into the tank, and around and around and around it goes. So once I've got the power situation taken care of and got the tank slid back into position, then the next challenge will be to fill it up. And I'm going to end up having to go out through the window and hopefully find a faucet downstairs.
Electrically, I need to provide power for the UniQuarium's water pump and heater, as well as a passage for the LED lighting's power cord. This multi-adapter medium-duty extension cord will serve as the power supply, and with the cord in place, I can slide the tank back into position.
So with the tank in position now and the power cords placed in the back so I can gain access for future use, it's now time to put the decorations and the gravel into the tank. I'm going to start first with the rocks. It's just a very simple foundation of rocks. Once I've got that positioned securely on the bottom of the tank, I can then pour the gravel in around it. After that, I can then fill the tank up with water.
By placing the rock in first, ensuring that it's sitting on the bottom of the tank, I can then make sure that it's as structurally stable as I can. The gravel is poured in and fills around the rockwork, and helps keep it in position. This also helps when vacuuming the gravel, as it doesn't undermine the foundation of my rock work.
So the two keys to the rock foundation are obviously its looks. This is a kind of a flagstone, I guess, maybe some of that waterfall rock, very similar stuff to what we use downstairs. The second issue is, is it stable? Is it going to sit there, or is it going to fall down as soon as we start putting water in or something like that? It seems fairly stable, so I'm going to go ahead and put the gravel in around it, and that'll firm it up as well.
The gravel is crushed coral gravel. It has a natural look. It's calcareous in nature, which helps the pH of the water, and it cleans easily. I'm using about 50 pounds, which should give me about a 1 to 2 inch bed of gravel at the bottom of the tank.
Hi there, my name's Jim Stime, and you know me as the LA Fish Guy. Well, I also wear a couple of other hats. One of them is the jellyfish tank called the UniQuarium, and the third is myfishtank.com. I offer an entire line of acrylic aquariums ranging from rectangular to hexagon, flatback hex, as well as the custom curve front aquariums. There's also an entire line of stands and canopies ranging from MDF to pine to oak, with a variety of different finishes available. And the website is even smart enough that you can calculate what the freight and crate charges to your location will be. That's myfishtank.com.
Reef Hobbyist magazine believes that our hobby, our fellow hobbyists, and the animals in our care are best served by the free distribution of quality information. Reef Hobbyist magazine provides hobbyists with critical husbandry information with an emphasis on marine ornamental breeding efforts. Reef Hobbyist magazine is available for free in local fish stores across the country, or you can subscribe at www.reefhobbyistmagazine.com.
So with the gravel in and moved around, there's a nice little cave there. It's attractive. It's crushed coral. We can place corals on top. Fish can hide in the cave. I think that's attractive. All right, so the next step is to find a water source and fill the tank up with fresh water.
It would be great if I had access to a purified freshwater source, but this being up on the second floor, it's just not convenient. I'm going to have to opt to use water right out of the faucet for this initial filling of the tank. I can then use a more convenient and purer source of water.
Look out below.
For all of the future water changes.
So with the garden hose into the tank and the end of it just underneath the rocks there, I've got it secured with a clamp at one point, and then just to make sure I've got it secured at another point, and then it goes down outside somewhere. And then outside here we should be able to find our hose, and there's a faucet attachment right there. And we're gonna pump that up to there.
Using a garden hose connected to the faucet, I can then pump the fresh water up to the second floor tank and allow it to fill up.
And as the tank begins to fill up, the water is almost ready to rise up to the overflow slits. But in actuality, it's already beginning to drain back through the return line down into the water pump compartment. You can see there that that's filling up. And the water is just now going into the pre-filter compartment. It'll rise up and then it'll pass over the drip plate and then into the pump compartment. Okay, with the filter compartment filled up a little more than what it needs to be, it should just be as simple as turning on the power strip. Pretty strong little pump. Alright, so with the water pump on, you can see the operation. Water spilling into the pre-filter chamber, rises up through there, out across the drip plate, and then down into the pump chamber, where it's picked up by the water pump and sent back into the tank. I think there's a Rio 2500 on here, and to be honest with you, I think it's just a tad bit too strong. You can see it's filled up the tank to where it's touching there, and there's really no gap or very little gap. So the choices would be to either enlarge the holes that the water is using to exit, although that's still going to create quite a flow through that filter compartment, or downgrade to maybe a Rio 2100, and I think that might be the better choice, because that just makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Any blockage in those teeth and that tank could easily overflow.
The lighting will be attached to the inside of the aquarium's new canopy. It'll be a simple LED light strip from a local fish wholesaler. It's the current trend in aquarium lighting and should provide that appealing glitter line ripples of light at the surface and be energy efficient as well.
And the LED lights are now in and plugged in. You can see the reflection of them there. It's one simple strip mounted to the underside of the canopy. Seems to provide a adequate amount of light. Don't think I could ask for more without having to add another strip or create an algae problem for myself.
Well, that's the installation of this 80-gallon UniQuarium, as it's called. I do think, though, that the pump is a little too strong. Just a hair bit nervous. So I think I'll end up switching it out for a slightly smaller pump. But as everything always goes, we gotta keep moving forward. So till the next part, you too, keep moving forward on everything you do.